what a masterpiece. Heartbreaking that Bowie's gone. Oh, boy. Little drummer boy there, Bing Crosby and David Bowie. Bing's nephew was on the World Service the other night. He actually sings a wee bit like his uncle and goes on tour, but he played a lot of golf with his uncle Bing, and he was just talking about him. It was a great programme. Listen, I want to talk to Chef Brian at length about all the other stuff, about the honey, the glaze on the ham, and we're going to do gravy today and veggie and vegan and all the rest. And we're going to have a phone-in, a special Chef Brian phone-in next week. But firstly, I want to, in terms of Brexit, there's a very interesting little practicality here in terms of you take notice of not necessarily stuff like clashes of nations, sovereignty, all that kind of stuff. The things you notice are the roaming charges on your phone, the practical stuff, this green card, your insurance, and the wee pop-up that comes on Facebook to ask for your consent to store your information. All of that's changing. All of that is changing. Kevin Curran is Professor of Cybersecurity at Ulster University. Kevin, good afternoon to you.
Good afternoon, Mark.
Kevin, what's happening here? Facebook shifting UK users toward American terms. What's going on? Yeah, go ahead, Kev.
Yeah, it just means that all the UK accounts for their customers are being shifted to American. They're steering away from the corporate headquarters from the European Union privacy laws again, which were brought in.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
So that's Brexit in a nutshell, Facebook-wise.
It is, but it's going to come anyway because. Again, the GDPR, the European Union brought in rules for Facebook, that were more stringent than they are in the United States, for instance. Again, so it's easier for them to be able to move and usher in other privacy controls which do not adhere to the stricter ones in Europe, actually.
Twitter spokesperson says the UK users will continue to be handled by the company's Dublin office. Kevin, listen, in a nutshell, why does this stuff matter?
It matters a lot. GDPR actually was a great rule, the European Union. In other words, it forced companies to only look for information that they absolutely require from us. Again, right? They also have to store it safely. They cannot store it for longer than is actually necessary. They cannot pass it on to third-party providers without our explicit consent. And when we join sites, for instance, they can't use dark practices to opt us into schemes which are not part of what we opted into. In other words, they have to make it explicit where we tick boxes, not like before. In other words, these are here to protect us as citizens. And it's actually a very good law to protect us going into a future where there's obviously so many data breaches. Data breaches occur on a daily basis. If there's one thing we've learned is companies cannot protect our data. And
listen, there's talk about more stringency with regard to the abuse of children online and all that stuff on sort of mainstream platforms and that, Kevin. Do you think they'll genuinely change? Because so much of it has still to be perfected, right?
Yeah, but there's a lot of government pressure coming on Facebook. And in fact, this week, 48 states out of the 50 in the United States have signed a law trying to more or less break up Facebook. They believe it's a monopoly, again, because Facebook own Instagram and also WhatsApp as well. So they believe that they've dominated the market. In other words, there's been emails released where Mark Zuckerberg explicitly said the reason that they were buying these messaging services was to wipe out the competition. And if that's not anti-competitive, what is really? So they're facing danger from all sorts of sides.
And the longer it goes on, Kevin, in a word, the more dominant they become. Because in my life, the second half of my life now, thereabouts, is documented by Facebook. It's the family album for millions kids. That's where their memories exist. I mean, they don't maybe own photographs in a box in the attic the way your mum and dad did.
Absolutely, and they've cornered that market, because it's a network effect. Even if you were to set up a separate social network tomorrow, I mean, no one's going to be there, just you and a few other techies, early adopters again. So the fact is, they have the dominant platform really, and of course, it's built around advertising. They really have the most wonderful model for advertising. They're able to sell advertisers kind of categories such as you want to have someone who's female, they're 35, their income are above a certain kind of salary slot as well, and they're able to do that, of course, and ship it off to the advertisers, and able to also see who clicked on these and monitor the click-through performance and everything else. And they really are just superb at advertising, and that's where their money comes from.
Yeah, okay. Listen, thanks very much for that, Kevin. Professor Kevin Curran there from the Ulster University.